It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Who's ready for their Sunday dinner? Their roast dinner, their beef dinner, their chicken dinner, with dessert thrown in, sticky toffee pudding, apple crumble. Is this a beer review? Is this me standing here on a Monday morning wishing it was Sunday again so I could eat another Sunday lunch? I don't know. I'm as confused as you are. This is Northern Monk Brewing Company's and Bessie collaboration, and this is a box of their, I don't know, I've been standing here for 2 minutes wondering how to kind of present this and describe it. There's now better than a roast dinner at home. Now you can pick these up in Morrison's. They're £5.50 for a 4-pack. And they consist of a apple, crumble and custard pale ale. I kid you not. Sticky toffee pudding and custard porter. Jam roly-poly custard pale ale. And of course, the roast dinner brown ale. 330ml cans. A lot of you out there will know that Northern Monk have been pushing these Sunday dinner beers for probably the best part of 4 years now with Aunt Bessie. Initially, I thought that when they brought this out, they were just having a bit of a laugh, Northern Monk. They were just having a bit of a joke. But obviously not, because this year alone, in 2023, I've reviewed a custard pale ale from Asda from Northern Monk and a rocket lollipop beer in Sainsbury's from Northern Monk and another ice cream and sauce and cream or something in Morrison's, which is like an ice cream and sauce beer, which was equally as not very good. And so let's get these out. There's a roast dinner brown ale, 4.5% ABV, 330ml. So they cost me £5.50 for the 4-pack. Here's the apple crumble and custard pale ale, 4.5% ABV. Sticky toffee pudding and custard porter at 4.5% ABV. And a jam roly-poly and custard pale ale at 4.5% ABV in a 330ml can. Some of you might point out that I actually brewed a collaboration with Northern Monk, probably the best part of 7 years ago now, and we produced probably the first ever name with custard at Northern Monk, and that was a custard cream pale ale. So I bought a lot of custard cream biscuits, we smashed them all up, added them to the brew, and we made a custard cream pale ale. So am I to blame for all of this? I don't know. Probably not. The point to all of this is that Northern Monk, just a few years ago, was seen as this fantastic brewer of quality, top quality, top grade craft beers. I imagine that they still have that series of beers where they make a one-off series and they produce incredible double IPAs and pale ales, IPAs and whatnot, imperial stouts. And you can pay upwards of £5, £6, £7 a can for those beers. But I just feel at this moment in time that all of the hard work that Northern Monk have done to get to the position where they are today, I just feel like they're undoing it. It's all unraveling very, very quickly with these, with the beers that they've been producing in 2023. It's all very tiny rebel-like. It's just like gimmicky novelty beers that you buy once on April Fool's Day type of thing. And the problem with that is you almost lose all of your respect very quickly that you've worked so hard to gain. You've lost it in an instant by keeping on producing these raspberry ripple beers and custard cream beer. Well, anyway, you're not here for me to just gas on and gas on. Let's just grab one, shall we? Right, jam, roly-poly and custard pale ale. Let's get it out. 4.5%. I'm using relatively the same glasses for this beer. Quick as you like them with these reviews. Jam, roly-poly. My goodness me. Wow. My goodness me. I can't imagine anybody in their right mind putting this to their nose and going, oh yeah, that smells terrific. That smells awful. Absolutely awful. Smells of custard. Smells of raspberry, but raspberry synthetic, like a synthetic cheap pound shop raspberry chocolate bar that's been produced in Turkey or something like that, you know? Really cheap synthetic chocolate raspberry custard aroma to the beer. Smells like a massive headache. Let's dive in. Awful. Absolutely awful. Drying chemical. A drying chemical taste. Like you've been down the local swimming pool, council run swimming pool, and you've added too much chlorine to the water and you've accidentally got some up your nose, or you've actually got some in your mouth by mistake. It's atrocious. Absolutely atrocious beer. Thin, watery, raspberry custard chemical flavoured beer. Atrocious. I can't believe I'm standing here today where only just a few short years ago Northern Monk were doing the greatest of things. They were doing the greatest of things, and now to stand here, it's quite upsetting really. It's quite upsetting to be standing here today, second half of 2023, absolutely lambasting Northern Monk beer. I never thought I would see the day. Their beer was so good years ago. You have to trust me on this. It wasn't like this all of the time. Apple, crumble and custard pale ale. Here we go. Ironically, pouring this in a Polly's Bruco glass. I mean, Northern Monk were Polly's level just 5 minutes ago. Honestly, and it's unravelled so quickly for them. Bonkers. Bonkers. It's like walking into a cheap sweet shop. And do you know when you walk into a sweet shop and you're like, ugh, you go in and it's like, ugh, all that horrible synthetic flavours hit you. I walk out of a sweet shop. I can't walk into a sweet shop. Absolutely not for me. It smells like appetizer. It smells like cheap apple flavourings. If you ate, you know the apple laces? Do you know the cheap sweets, the apple laces you buy and you're eating them and you're like, oh my goodness me, well, it's like the synthetic apple, horrible. That's all they've done. They've used the flavour from apple laces and they've tried to make a beer out of it. Awful, awful, awful. Giving it the benefit of the doubt here. Awful. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. I don't know whether to... If this is craft beer in 2023, then craft beer is in serious, serious trouble. If these breweries think that this is what the general public want in their beer, then for me, craft beer is dead. I'm calling it now. If these breweries think that this is the future, they are so wrong. Northern Monk, Aunt Bessie's sticky toffee pudding and custard porter. Kind of hoping, you know, I'm kind of hoping for something here. Kind of hoping for something. It doesn't look the worst porter in the world. It's got nice lacing, it's got nice head on the glass, carbonation chases the head up the glass. Looks okay for a porter, that. Jet black beer in the glass. Fingers crossed there's something in this glass that I'm going to like. Aroma. Now then. Now then. A little bit roasty, a little bit toasty, bit of roasted malt, a little bit of sweet sticky toffee pudding, which is acceptable because that's what the beer is supposed to be. You can do that by adding a little bit of kind of brown sugar, and that's, I believe, what they've done to produce this beer. It smells okay, this. A little bit of beef gravy going on. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Right, that first taste was to wash away the awful apple crumble beer. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one because I think this one's got a little bit of promise. Firmly washed away that apple crumble. Right, it's really thin. It's like drinking, it's the thinnest porter that I've ever put into my mouth. I mean, I was down in London Craft Beer Festival just on Friday, and I was drinking Anspach and Hobday's porter, which was the most incredible porter at, I think it was about 4.7% ABV that I've ever drunk in my life. It was absolutely terrific. That beer, the Anspach and Hobday Porter, absolutely tears this sticky toffee porter apart from Northern Monk. It's another level of quality. It's a terrific, terrific quality porter. So if I'm going to put porter versus porter, then I'm sorry, even though I like, this is much more of a beer. It's much more of a beer. You've got roasted malt coming through, most definitely. A little bit of roasted malt, a little bit of chocolate malt coming through. The fact that it's so thin, the fact that it's like, it's got a really watery consistency to it, just spoils it, really. Spoils it. But it's the best of a bad bunch so far. It really is. I think if you forced me to finish one of these beers, then so far it would be the sticky toffee porter. But I emphasise the word forced. Roast Dinner Brown Ale, 4.5% ABV. They're all 4.5% ABV. You almost wondered if they just made one base beer and just, well, we won't get into that. Roast Dinner Brown Ale. What started off as a bit of fun has, I think, for Northern Monk, turned into a bit of a nightmare. They probably had initial interest, lots of sales, lots of like, wow, let's buy it for fun, that gimmick. You know, like the yo-yo comes in and out of fashion. They probably had that initial spike and they were like, oh my goodness me, we've made a load of money on this beer. And they probably thought they could do it again, and they can do it again, and they can do it again. But guess what? Guess what, Northern Monk? People are only ever buying this beer once. They're buying it as a jokey birthday present for their mate that they don't really like, or they're buying it for their weird uncle at Christmas, and it's a joke. It's a joke. But to base your whole brewery on jokey beers is, it must be frightening. It must be really frightening to, if I was the accountant at Northern Monk, I think I'd have clumps of hair in my hand, you know, type of thing. What once was a great brewery have quickly unravelled into a real mess, a real mess. Golden amber, deep ambery coloured, supposed to look. I think it was darker than this. If I drank this beer 3 years ago, I reckon it was a lot darker than this. I reckon they've kind of lightened this up a bit. Let's get the aroma. It used to be brewed with roast potatoes. That was the thing with the roast dinner brown ale. They actually brewed it with roast potatoes, I think, but they don't say now. What's in this beer? There's no explanation at all as to what's in this beer. It's a bit malty and grainy. It smells a little bit farty, if I'm honest. It smells a little bit like rotting vegetables. In fact, I think there might be an infection in this beer. To top it all off for Northern Monk, I think their roast beef dinner main gimmicky beer has got an infection in it. Whatever next. Smells a bit like rotting cabbage. Let's dive in. Cheers, everyone. Yeah. So, what a nightmare. What a nightmare for Northern Monk. They decided to build this thing, this roast dinner beer with Aunt Bessie, and they had initial success with it. So they made a box set of beers. But the one beer that they built all of this around has got an infection. It must be an absolute nightmare. Sleepless nights at Northern Monk. Sleepless nights at Northern Monk, it must be. Atrocious. Atrocious. A once fantastic. And I can't emphasise this enough. Brewdog used to be a fantastic brewery. Brewdog are no longer a fantastic craft brewery. Thornbridge used to be an amazing craft brewer. Even Thornbridge, you know, their Jaipur isn't the same. It's not the same Jaipur as the early craft beer drinkers were drinking. Tiny Rebel used to win camera award after camera award. Their beers were fantastic. I remember as a beer salesman, they were selling their beers £10 or £20 a cask or a keg, more than any other brewery in South Wales, because they could demand that premium because their beer was that good. And the same probably could be said for Northern Monk. Their beers were once fantastic. Same with Beavertown, same with Magic Rock Brewing Company. The list goes on. The point is, the reason why I'm drinking so many lagers these days is that I've become, the whole craft beer industry for me, I've lost my mojo with it. And I've lost my mojo with it because I wanted Northern Monk to be this great brewer and to produce this great beer and to change the world of beer. That's what I wanted. I wanted Brewdog to do the same. I wanted Tiny Rebel and Beavertown and Magic Rock Brewing Company to do the same. I thought these companies were raising the standard of beer and they were going to change the British and the world brewing scene for good. But they changed course. The money got in their eyeballs, and all they could see was the pound coins and the dollars. That's all they could see. And they bent to big beer and they bent to the big supermarkets, and they lowered their quality so much that I stand here now looking at the up and coming, like Polly's, for argument's sake, Polly's Brew Co. Who's to say that I get behind Polly's and I go, yes, come on, Polly's, come on, you can do it. Verdant and Cloudwater, you can do it. You can get it. You can change the mindset of beer. You can change the way people around the world think about beer, and you can make beer better for and raise the quality. And then, you know, you back the horse, don't you? It's a bit like putting your money on a horse, and then the horse falls at the last hurdle. It falls at the last hurdle, and I'm fed up of the disappointment. I am completely fed up of the disappointment, and I'm fed up of backing these failed horses. I'm fed up of it. And that's the reason why I'm drinking a Warsteiner these days, and it's the reason why I'm drinking a Krombacher. It's the reason why I'm drinking so many lagers on the channel, is because I'm fed up of backing these failed, lame horses. And I'm just done with it. I'm done with the whole thing. I don't know where Northern Monk are going to go from this. I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know where they're going to end up. But this isn't the answer. If you're asking me, Northern Monk, is this the answer? This is not the answer. It's not the answer. It's Atrocious beer. It's a 2 out of 10. I paid £5.50 for this box yesterday, and I gotta be honest, I wish I never bothered. Every time now, from now on, I look at a Northern Monk beer, I'm going to be looking at it on the shelf with massive doubt. Massive doubt as to whether I want to pay that £3 or that £3.50. 2 out of 10 for the Aunt Bessie beers from Northern Monk. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.